Hi, friends. Welcome to day 9 of Gyan Group. And let's continue our reading from The Courage to be Disliked. And yesterday was a powerful reading where we, where the name of the chapter was Unhappiness is something you choose for yourself. So let's move further. The name of today's, and the youth was almost very, very disappointed, and he said he almost glared at the philosopher, and in his mind, he was thinking, this is such an absurd argument that I chose an unhappy life. And he said, I'm going to dismantle his argument, and I'm going to, no matter what, I am going to make him kneel before me. So, the name of this, then we come to the next chapter. The name of this chapter is People Always Choose Not to Change. So the philosopher says to the youth, sit down. As things stand, it's only natural that our views clash. I will now give a simple explanation as to the manner in which humans are understood in Adlerian psychology. Youth. Okay, but please be brief. Philosopher. Earlier, you said that any person's disposition or personality cannot be changed. In Adlerian psychology, we describe personality and disposition with the word lifestyle. Youth. Lifestyle? The philosopher. Yes. Lifestyle is the tendencies of thought and action in life. The youth. What does that mean? Tendencies of thought and action. The philosopher. How one sees the world and how one sees oneself. Think of lifestyle as a concept bringing together these ways of finding meaning. That means how one sees the world and how one sees oneself. In a narrow sense, lifestyle could be defined as someone's personality. Taken more broadly, it is a word that encompasses the worldview of that person and their outlook on life. Youth. Their view of the world means the philosopher. Say there's someone who worries about himself and says, I am a pessimist. One could rephrase that. One could rephrase that to instead say, I have a pessimistic view of the world. You could consider that the issue is not personality, but rather the view of the world. It seems that the word personality is nuanced and suggests being unchangeable, but we are talking about a view of the world. Well, then, that should be possible to alter, isn't it? Youth. This is kind of confusing. When you speak of a lifestyle, do you mean a way of living? The philosopher. Yes, you could put it that way. To be a little more accurate, it is the way one's life should be. You probably think of disposition or personality as something with which you are endowed without any connection to your will. In Adlerian psychology, however, lifestyle is thought of as something that you choose for yourself, the youth. That you choose for yourself, meaning philosopher says, yes, exactly, you choose your lifestyle. Youth. So not only did I choose to be unhappy, but I even went so far as to choose this warped personality too. The philosopher. Absolutely. Youth. Now you're really pushing it, right? When I became aware, I already had this personality. I certainly don't have any recollection of having chosen it. But it's the same for you, isn't it? Being able to choose one's own personality at will. Now that sounds like you're talking about robots, not people. The philosopher says, of course, you did not consciously choose this kind of self. Your first choice was probably unconscious, combined with external factors you have referred to, like race, nationality, culture, and home environment. These certainly had a significant influence on that choice. Nevertheless, it is you who chose this kind of self. The youth. I don't get what you're saying. How on earth could I have chosen it? The philosopher says, Adlerian psychology's view is that it happens around the age of 10. Youth. Well, for argument's sake, and now I'm really going out on a limb, say that when I was 10, I unconsciously made this choice of lifestyle or whatever. Would that even matter? You can call it personality, disposition, lifestyle, but regardless, I had already become this kind of self. The state of things doesn't change at all. The philosopher says that is not true. If your lifestyle is not something that you were naturally born with, but something you chose yourself, then it must be possible to choose it over again. The youth. Now you're saying I can choose it all over? The philosopher. Maybe you haven't been aware of your lifestyle until now, and maybe you haven't been aware of the concept of lifestyle either. Of course, no one can choose his or her own birthright. Being born in this country, in this era, with these parents are things you did not choose. And all these things have a great deal of influence. You'll probably face disappointment and start looking at other people and feeling, I wish I'd been born in their circumstance. But you can't let it end there. The issue is not the past, but here in the present. And now you've learned about lifestyle. But what you do with it from here on is your responsibility. Whether you go on choosing the lifestyle you've had up till now or you choose a new lifestyle altogether, it is entirely up to you. Youth. Then how do I choose again? You're telling me you chose that lifestyle yourself, so go ahead and select a new one instantly? But there's no way I can change on the spot. The philosopher. Yes, you can. People can change at any time, regardless of the environment they are in. You are only unable to change because you're making the decision not to. The youth. What do you mean exactly? The philosopher. People are constantly selecting their lifestyles. Right now, while we are having this tete or tete, we are selecting ours. You describe yourself as an unhappy person. You say that you want to change right this minute. You even claim that you want to be reborn as a different person. After all that, then why are you still unable to change? It is because you're making the persistent decision not to change your lifestyle. Youth. No, don't you see? That's completely illogical. I do want to change. That is my sincere wish. So, how could I be making the decision not to? The philosopher. Although there are some small inconveniences and limitations, you probably think that the lifestyle you have now is the most practical one and that it's just easier to leave things as they are. If you stay just like this, experience enables you to respond properly to events as they occur while guessing the results of one's actions. You could say it is like driving your old familiar car. It might rattle a bit, but one can take that into account and maneuver easily. On the other hand, if one chooses a new lifestyle, no one can predict what might happen to the new self or have any idea how to deal with the events as they arise. It will be hard to see ahead to the future, and life will be filled with anxiety. A more painful and unhappy life might lie ahead. Simply put, people have various complaints about things, but it's easier and more secure to be just the way one is. I think it was a good explanation, right? Like you never know how whether I'll be able to be happy in this new lifestyle or worldview or whatever. The youth says one wants to change, but changing is scary, you mean? Philosopher. When we try to change our lifestyles, we put our great courage to the test. There is the anxiety generated by changing and the disappointment attendant and the disappointment attendant to not changing. I'm sure you have selected the latter. Youth, wait, wait, wait. Just now you used the word courage. Philosopher, yes, Adlerian psychology is a psychology of courage. Your unhappiness cannot be blamed on your past or your environment, and that it isn't that you lack competence, you just lack courage. One might say you're lacking in the courage to be happy. The next subchapter is your life is decided here and now. Youth, the courage to be happy, huh? Philosopher, do you need further explanation? Youth, no, hold on. This is getting confusing. First, you tell me that the world is a simple place, that it only seems complicated because of me, and that my subjective view is making it that way, and also that life just seems complicated because I make it complicated, all of which is what makes it difficult for me to live happily. Then you say that one should take the stance of teleology as opposed to Freudian etiology, that one must not search for causes in one's past and should deny trauma. You say that people act to achieve some goal or the other instead of being creatures who are driven by causes in their past, right? The philosopher says yes. Youth. Furthermore, as the major premise of teleology, you say that people can change and that people are always selecting their own lifestyles. The philosopher, that's correct. Youth. So I'm unable to change because I myself keep repeatedly making the decision not to change. I don't have enough courage to choose a new lifestyle. In other words, I do not have enough courage to be happy, and that's why I am unhappy. Have I got anything wrong? The philosopher, no, you haven't. Youth, okay, in that case, my question is what are the real measures I should take? What do I need to do to change my life? You haven't explained all that yet. Philosopher, you're right. What you should do now is make a decision to stop your current lifestyle. For instance, earlier you said, if only I could be someone like Y, I'd be happy. As long as you live that way in the realm of the possibility of, if only such and such were the case, you will never be able to change. Because saying, if only I could be like this, is an excuse to yourself for not changing. An excuse not to change? Asks the youth. The philosopher. Yes, I have a friend who dreams of becoming a novelist, but who never seems to be able to complete his work. According to him, his job keeps him too busy and he can never find enough time to write novels, and that's why he can't complete work and enter it for writing awards. But is that the real reason? No, it's actually that he wants to leave the possibility of I can do it if I try. He does not leave the possibility open by not committing to anything. He doesn't want to expose his work to criticism, and he certainly doesn't want to face the reality that he might produce an inferior piece of writing and face rejection. He wants to live inside that realm of possibilities where he can say that he could do it if only had he had the time, or that he could write if he just had the proper environment, and that he really does not have the talent for it. In another 5 or 10 years, he will probably start using other excuses like I'm not young anymore or I've got a family to think about now. Youth. Yes, I can relate all too well to how he must feel. The philosopher. He should just enter his writing for an award. And if he gets rejected, so be it. If he did, he might grow or discover that he should pursue something different. Either way, he would be able to move on. That is what changing your current lifestyle is about. He won't get anywhere by not submitting to anything. The youth. But maybe his dreams will be shattered. Philosopher. Well, I wonder. Having simple tasks things that should be done while continually coming up with various reasons why one can't do them sounds like a hard way to live, doesn't it? So, in the case of my friend who dreams of becoming a novelist, it is clearly the I or the self that is making life complicated and too difficult to live happily. Youth. But that's harsh. Your philosophy is too tough. Philosopher. Indeed, it is strong medicine. The youth. Strong medicine. Yes, I agree. Philosopher. But if you change your lifestyle, the way of giving meaning to the world and yourself, then both your way of interacting with the world and your behavior will have to change as well. Do not forget this point. No one will have to change. You, just as you are, have to choose your lifestyle. It might seem hard, but it is really quite simple. Youth. According to you, there is no such thing as trauma, and environment doesn't matter either. It's all just baggage, and my unhappiness is my own fault, right? I'm starting to feel I'm being criticized for everything I've ever been and done. Philosopher. No, you're not being criticized. Rather, as Adler's teleology tells us, no matter what has occurred in your life up to this point, it should not have it should have no bearing at all on how you live from now on. That you, living in the here and now, are the one who determines your own life. Youth. My life is determined at this exact point. Philosopher, yes, because the past does not exist. The youth, all right, well, I don't agree with your theories 100%. There are many points I'm not convinced about and I would argue against. At the same time, your theories are worth further consideration, and I'm definitely interested in learning more about Adlerian psychology. I think I've had enough for tonight, but I hope you won't mind if I come again next week. If I don't take a break, I think my head might burst. The philosopher. I'm sure you need some time on your own to think things over. I'm always here, so you can visit whenever you like. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Let's talk again. The youth. Great. One last thing, if I may. Our discussion today was long and got pretty intense, and I guess I spoke rather rudely. For that, I would like to apologize. Philosopher. Don't worry about it. You should read Plato's dialogues. The conduct and language of the disciples of Socrates are surprisingly loose. That's the way a dialogue is supposed to be. Amazing. So that's the first night. And I think we read it over 7 sessions. So great. Let's meditate for some time. I think there's a lot to take from this. Um, the main aspect was courage, and then the other aspect was a synopsis of what the whole thing was about up till now, and how you can change from today. You decide to change from today. That's amazing. So just close your eyes and meditate for 5 minutes. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and put your comments. Also, I'm sure all of us are going through something and we want to change in our life. And if you're finding it tough, I'm here. Write to me. Write how your mind is going with as we are reading the book. It would be great to know. Nice. So do meditate and close your eyes. Bring yourself in a graceful posture. Bring your attention to your breath. Take your own time. And if you feel like, you can rub your palms, bring them over your eyes and face. And welcome back. And see you tomorrow in the next video.